Hi everybody, welcome to Floss Tube number 59. And today we're going to talk about a mystery sampler. Lots of times I like to research and find out where my samplers have come from or know a little bit about the stitcher. But this particular sampler, I have no idea and will never know. I'll show you why here in just a minute. I do want to take just a moment because I know all of us in the needlework field are hurting the last little bit because we've lost Jean, who was just such an icon in this industry. And I even debated, do I even do a floss tube this week? Because I know we are all sad. I commented to someone, I said, I'm sad, my heart is breaking over the loss of Jean, but at the same time, it's full because I did have the honor of knowing Jean. And the thing that I've seen in so many wonderful tributes has been Jean loved. She loved samplers. She loved people. She loved the stitching industry. She just loved her family, her friends, and that's something that we should celebrate and be thankful that we had the opportunity to have her around us and just give us the inspiration to do what we all love. And so I thought, I think she would be smiling to know, okay, they're still talking about samplers, good job. You all keep talking about samplers, keep working with your needles. And I just know as a new designer, she was so inspirational to me and took the time to talk and share ideas and give suggestions and just encouragement more than anything. And so I hope that, in Jean's own words, always forward, never backward. I hope as we move forward to continue, we will always remember Jean and to continue her love of needlework and trying to inspire others. And in that way, that's our honor and tribute to her. So with that said, let's talk about a sampler today. The one that I have, I purchased on an antique trip in Williamsburg, Virginia. They have one of the best antique malls. I love to visit when I'm in that area. And as I was walking around, this little sampler caught my eye. And it's out of the frame, so I've tried to clip it on this little board. So excuse me if it kind of slides around on me some. It's just about the size of a handkerchief. And the thing that caught my eye was this sweet little picture in the middle. Now, it's not attached, but the way it was framed, and the frame was very old, it was in the frame on top of this little sampler. So I assumed it came with it or it was intended for that. It may not have been. I'm just making a guess. But let's look at some of the pieces on this sampler. Over here, it's very faded, but hopefully you can still kind of see the little motifs. Here is a little berry basket. It's got some roses. I know they're kind of hard to see. I'm not sure if this is an unfinished piece. It looks to me like it needs something else in the middle, but maybe not. Maybe that's just the way she wanted it. There's a little vase. Here's another little piece here. And you see the majority of this is all these kind of sepia tones, except all of a sudden we have this bright navy kind of splashed in there. We have a long blank space here. Here's a really pretty little border piece. Another little, looks like little rose buds, some more flowers, beautiful roses here. Then another bright navy splash at the bottom, another berry basket, some more flowers across the bottom. And then this side, there's nothing except one letter A. So of course that got my curiosity going. Could that have been this little girl's first initial? Could it have been August or April? Maybe it was her birth date. So I don't know. I'm curious about it. I don't know if they just intended to do the letter A and then leave it because they knew what it meant. And they probably had no idea that someone many, many years later would purchase this sampler and be this curious about it. But I'm not sure what that A stood for. So in my head, I'm trying to think that this might have been this little girl's birth sampler. So perhaps they left off her name and they just did not get it finished. I'm not sure. But it's hem stitched around the edge. And then, like I said, this little photograph, and it's an old one. I don't know if you can kind of see, it's real thick. It's just the back, nothing written on it. Just an old photograph in the middle. So what I have done with this, I didn't do an exact reproduction. I chose to do an adaptation. I'm calling it A Moment in Time. It will be one of the Nashville releases. And what I decided to do on this is take some of the motifs that are around this sampler and then kind of adapt them to fit my design. So I've used a lot of these pieces. I've used this one. I've used these little rosebuds. I've used this little design, but instead on this one, I made it a little bit longer. Same thing for over here. On some of these little roses, I've made some more borders and things and kind of where it's filled in all the way around the center. Then I chose to do perforated paper just because I've kind of wanted to do a sampler on perforated paper, and I thought since I'm adapting this one anyway, let's play around with some perforated paper. And so I got 18 count, antiqued it, and did a little border in the middle to where you can cut that out and mount a picture kind of behind the perforated paper. And I'll have that, the model's getting framed, and I'll have that when I do my Nashville release preview. Oh, probably in a few weeks. I'll show you when I'm taking to Nashville. But I'm very happy with how it turned out. I did use some color in mine since it's an adaptation, and I'm very happy with how it all came together. I put at the top above the frame section that you can cut out, I put my husband's initials and my initials and the date that we were married. So for me, the moment in time I'm going to use is our wedding. It could be a birth sampler. It could be a graduation sampler. And so in the chart, I will also include an alphabet that you can either put initials, you could put like your grandchild's name or your child's name and when they were born. If it's a graduation, you could put your child's name that graduated and the year or the date that they graduated. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it's something that's very versatile and can be used for any moments in time that are special to us, just as a way to record those and have a special memory that we can put on our wall. Or as small as this is, and if you didn't want to do perforated paper, you can make it into a little pillow. And just put your information in the center and not cut it out. So there was that option as well. But I really wish I knew the whole story. I don't have anything that I can look at to research and try and find out. I wished when I took it out of the frame, of course I was hoping when I flipped it over, there might be something on the back that would give me a little hint, but nothing. So this will forever be a mystery sampler. Tell me in the comments below, because I always love to read your comments and see what you think it might be. Tell me what you think the story is behind this sampler. In just a minute, I'm going to show you, and it will be attached to the end of this video, how I antiqued the perforated paper. I had a couple of you say, yes, please show us how to do that. So I'm going to show you the process that I used, and if you have a different way of antiquing, you might share that with us as well, because I know I started Googling to see, well, which way do I want to do it? Maybe I want to try something different. And there are many, many different ways that you can antique perforated paper. You can get on YouTube and find more ways than you can count. But I kind of stuck with the one I know and was happy with how it all turned out. So I'll have all the information after the video listed below of the materials and supplies that I used. But I do want to talk just a little bit about birth samplers. On the Victoria and Albert Museum website, I found some interesting information. It said that Jane Bostick in 1598 stitched a sampler, and it was for a little girl born in 1596. That's hard to even imagine, isn't it? I mean, that's so long ago. And this is one of the earliest known samplers of anybody commemorating a birth that had an actual date on it. So the little girl's name was Alice Lee, and she was born in 1596. And it's thought that Jane was probably not related to her. She was probably working in the household because of her needlework skills. They actually have a couple of samplers that she has done, and they're just exquisite. I mean, she just was an excellent needleworker. And so the family probably asked her to make this birth sampler for their child, Alice Lee, that was born in 1596. I just can't imagine. That was just interesting to me. I mean, we still make birth samplers today. It's just a way to show our excitement for those little ones being born and be excited to see them have a piece of something we enjoy doing. So anyway, before I go on and pause so I can get the video connected for the perforated paper antiquing, I want to show you a little gadget. For those of you that stitch on perforated paper, I've done many little pieces, and I usually stitch those in hand. They're the only thing I can stitch in hand. I always use a hoop because I like my fabric nice and taut. But perforated paper is pretty stiff anyway if it's a small piece, so I can usually do it in hand. I knew stitching this little sampler was going to be a much larger piece, and I was worried about just doing it in hand. I could see all kinds of wrinkles in my paper, and I thought I don't want to be halfway through the project and have my paper rip. So a friend of mine told me about these little hoops. This is called a medium size. I got it off of Amazon, and I'll have all that information linked below as well. But it's 2 pieces. And so this is the back, and you see I still have my needle on there. It has all these little bitty magnets, but they're super strong. And so you put your perforated paper in between, and then this piece, see, has the magnets on the back. It just snaps together. And so that gives you something to grip and hold on to while you're stitching on your perforated paper. And it worked great. I was able to complete the sampler without having holes or too many wrinkles. And so it did do its job. But I really think this is going to be perfect for smaller pieces. They have one size that's a little bit larger than this. But someone else suggested that the little, not scroll frames. Let me look here because I wrote it down. Stretcher bars. I'm sorry. I had to peek. Stretcher bars would work better on larger pieces, like if you're stitching a sampler on perforated paper. So I'm going to try that next time. I found I had to move this around, and so I was worried about it leaving a mark on my perforated paper. And like at night, I'd make sure if I was finished stitching, I'd take it out of it so it didn't crunch it or leave a wrinkle or whatever. So next time I do think I will try the stretcher bars and see if that works a little better, because I can get them to fit the size of the paper that I'm using versus having to move this around as I'm stitching. Sorry, I think I just jiggled this. I may have made you guys dizzy. But anyway, for small pieces, this was great, and it's not too expensive. Like I said, they're on Amazon. I'll put the link below in case you're interested. That's all I think I have for you today. Next week, I'll come to you with another sampler. I haven't made my mind up. I've got 2 I'm trying to decide between. So I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm still doing some thinking, but I'll come to you this next week with another sampler. And like I said, it won't be too long. I'll have sneak peeks for my market preview. I'm really excited about what I'm taking to market this year and anxious to share those with you. I've got a lot off at the framers, and so that's always fun. You know, you see a little bitty piece of wood this size, and you're trying to see how it might look on your stitch piece. So it's always fun to go pick them up and see the final product. So I'll be sharing those with you before too long. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. Stay tuned, because at the end of this video, I'll show you some techniques and what the technique that I used for antiquing my perforated paper. So take care and happy stitching. Bye. Hi everybody. Let's learn how to antique perforated paper. I'm going to show you what I did to antique mine But if you have a chance, go into YouTube. There are so many different ways of antiquing perforated paper. There are several more that I'd like to try out, but I just stuck with the one that I was most confident with in order to do this last project. But I'm going to start out by just showing you some of the supplies that you'll need. I have an old envelope down just to kind of protect my surface. If you have a whole sheet or a larger piece, you might want to put a little trash bag down. I then have my perforated paper. You'll want some of these just disposable gloves. I have like a whole box. It's like 500 in a box that I keep in my craft room. It just kind of keeps your fingers from getting too stained. You'll want either an old rag or some paper towels. Then I use, it's called Distress Ink, and I'll kind of show you what they look like. This is by Holz. Hobby Lobby usually carries them. Michaels carries them. I think I got mine from Michaels this time, but I have bought them from Hobby Lobby. And the particular one I have came in 3 different colors. This one is called Vintage Photo. This one is Antique Linen. That's actually the one I used on my last project. And then this one is Walnut Stain. So I'll kind of play with them a little bit today and show you how they look, because they can give you a completely different look because of their color. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put my gloves on and make lots of noise while I'm doing that. And I know these aren't the best fitting gloves, so it's kind of awkward, but at least your hands will be protected. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is take my perforated paper, and I'm going to shake this up a little bit just to make sure it's mixed well. And when I spray this, I want to make sure that I spray in even strokes. I don't want to start letting it drip. And so one of the things that I found when I did this last time is after spraying several times, a little water droplet will build up on the nozzle, kind of where the spray comes out. So just after every couple sprays, I took a paper towel and just kind of blotted that. That prevented the drops from happening. But then if you're one that likes to stitch on grungy linen, you may want to let some drops fall on your perforated paper to kind of give it that grunge look, and that's perfectly fine too. There's really no right or wrong. It's just how you like the way it looks. So I'm just going to demonstrate a little bit. I'm just going to take and just kind of make a spray, kind of dab that off a little bit. And another thing that I found, I don't like my linen to be super, super grungy, but I do like it to have some darker spots and some lighter spots just to give it a little more, I don't know that texture is the right word, but just so it doesn't look all the same color, I guess. So what I've done is kind of lightly make sure I've sprayed all of it. I know it may be hard to see the color on the video. If I turn it over, you can definitely see it's much whiter. Or here, I'll get the piece that I've not done yet and put them side by side. That helps you kind of see the color. It just kind of gives it a little more of that tea dye look, I think. Now, I like the way it looks, but I want it to be a little darker in some spots. So what I'm gonna do is just spray like a little area there. Then I might come down here and do another area. And then another one in the middle, you know, just kind of play with it a little bit. There's no, like I said, there's no right or wrong, but it just kind of gives it a little more texture. All right, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Once again, let me hold this over here so you can kind of see the color differences. It's hard to tell until you put it up next to the white. Now, what I do is just kind of dab, make sure it's not, if I have any globs, and I don't think I do on this one, so it turned out pretty good. Just lay it. It won't take it long to dry, but you want it really good and dry before, of course, you begin your stitching. So I'm going to set this over here out of the way. And now we're going to play around with this piece a little bit more. I'm going to take these other 2 colors just so you have a chance to see what they look like. This one's called Vintage Photo. So let's see what kind of a color we get from this one. For some reason, I had the lid off just a moment ago. Now it's wanting to stick on me. Well, scrap that. We're gonna move over to walnut stain. I'll play with that vintage photo here in a minute and see if I can't get it to come out better. But this is called walnut stain. So let's see what kind of a look we get. We want to be sure, once again, shake it up. You want it to be, make sure it's really good and mixed. And then I'm gonna, once again, spray even strokes. And because it is a darker color, it's gonna show spots a little more than it would with a lighter color. Okay. Now, you hold it up. See how much darker that is? That really is much darker than the previous one that we just did. Let's see if I can get this one open again. Sorry, it's wanting to jam, but it's very close in color, and I'm gonna take this one that we used, this first one, the antique linen, and let's see how we can layer some colors. That's gonna kind of brighten it a little bit. Wipe that nozzle off. And I like adding that other layer to it. It just gives it a little bit more color. So you can kind of, probably with video it's hard to see, but it's got a little bit of that kind of golden brown color mixed in with this darker brown now. So I'm pretty happy with how that added to it. So that's basically it. Just if you have any spots that you want to dab, you can, but I'm happy with how it turned out. So now the last part is just letting it air dry, making sure it's good and dry. Let me get the other piece over so you can see the two kind of compared side by side. So a big difference. You've got this one that's just more like a tea dyed paper, and then you have this much darker piece. So it's just kind of fun to play around. What I would suggest, if you are wanting to experiment with color and you're not sure which one you want to use, get like some white cardstock, and that will at least let you maybe practice spraying, practice with the different colors till you can get a combination, especially if you want to layer them. That lets you practice without wasting your perforated paper. But always, when you're going to do a piece for a project, I would have extra, just in case you get a big glob that comes out where you don't want it, or the color just isn't quite what you want. That way you have a backup plan. So anyway, super easy. I hope you try dyeing your own piece of perforated paper and find out that it's really not that difficult to do. So I'll have the information listed below of the different items that I used, and just have fun. Go give it a try this week. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.